Frank
There's
four.
no problem with honesty on this show.
Okay.
Yeah,
Frank
let's watch it. You really want the audience to believe you were fooled? You are not the right messenger to bring the story about the cover-up because you helped. You allowed it, and you likely did that out of a desire to help Joe Biden. It could only ever work if you allowed it, if the press allowed it. Some of us tried not to, and some of us were complicit.
First of all,
that's
Megyn,
what happened.
if we're going to do this, let's just stick to the facts here, okay? When there is a damaging report,
that's what I've been doing all along.
I'm talking about what you just said.
Didn't miss the biggest story of the century when it comes to presidential politics, and one of us did.
Okay, so
Clinton Jaws got a new setup right now, and it's not working too well for me. So bear with me. Please like this video. It's the only thing I care about. Everything's floppy. Jake Tapper, he wrote a book. Did you guys know it? He uncovered it. He finally tells, CNN finally tells the world that Joe Biden is mentally ill. That he's possibly suffering from dementia. We didn't know this, America. Nobody knew until Jake wrote a book about it. What we should really be doing is writing a book about MSNBC, NBC, CBS, CNN, and how they tried to pretend, how they tried to trick little old people in old folks' homes that Joe Biden was perfectly fine. Megyn Kelly gets a hold of him in an interview today. And oh my God, just destroys him. Puts him on the spot. Let's watch it together. Jake Tapper thinks he's a god. He's the first person to ever tell the world, hey, there might be something wrong with Joe Biden here.
But Jake, the criticism has been that you're complaining about a cover-up about Joe Biden's mental acuity that failed, that right-wing pundits saw, the right wing in general saw, that independent media saw and reported on, and that was no mystery even to left-wing and so-called mainstream reporters who were not fooled but chose willful blindness instead of honest reporting, and that you were part of it. How do you respond?
It's a tough and fair question.
Tough and tough.
I would say that
very hard.
Alex and I, after Election Day, interviewed more than 200 people, 200 mostly Democratic insiders, and almost all of these interviews were after the election. Most of his campaign staff and others would say, like, he's 78, he's 79, he has senior moments, but he's fine. Well, he wasn't fine. And
thanks. Finally, Jake.
Throughout his presidency.
Breaking news.
That non-functioning Biden would show up more and more and more, and he was worse and worse and worse.
Didn't know.
Look, knowing what I know now.
What?
Obviously.
You didn't know.
I feel tremendous humility about my coverage. That Laura Trump interview, for example, et cetera.
We'll get to
that.
She saw something that I did not see at the time.
Just didn't see it.
100%.
Couldn't see it.
And I own that. I did ask Joe Biden.
He couldn't see this, guys. A few days after he became president.
Remember that? I'm being serious. No, I'm asking you a question. Because before... No, wait a minute. I'm asking you a question. Is that accurate, to the best of your knowledge? What?
I don't think it's the issue that... do you think that people have an issue with pulling out of that PSA or just the way that things have happened?
He just couldn't see it.
But you covered the Biden presidency aggressively throughout the 4 years, and you didn't cover mental acuity hardly at all. I mean, time and time again, when issues came up, you seemed to be running cover for the president.
I don't think
interested.
That's true.
Well, I mean, we'll start with the Laura Trump issue that you referred.
He doesn't think that's true. Oh my God.
For the president.
I don't think
interested.
That's true.
Well,
I'm not certain, but I don't think that's true.
I mean, we'll start with the Laura Trump issue that you referred. Here it is. This happened in 2020.
Yeah. I like this one.
Joe Biden, as we all know, has worked to overcome a stutter. How do you think it makes little kids with stutters feel when they see you make a comment like that?
First and foremost, I had no idea that Joe Biden ever suffered from a stutter. I think what we see on stage with Joe Biden, Jake, is very clearly a cognitive decline.
Okay.
That's what I'm referring to. It makes me uncomfortable.
You are
no
This is so amazing.
Are you a doctor?
You're trying to tell me that what I was suggesting was
I think that you were
stuttering.
mocking his stutter.
Yeah,
I think you were mocking his stutter, and I think you have absolutely no standing to diagnose somebody's cognitive decline.
And it's very concerning to a lot of people that this could be the leader of the free world.
Okay.
That is all I'm saying. I genuinely feel sorry for Joe Biden.
Thank you very much.
I appreciate it. I'm sure it was from a place of concern. We all believe that. Lara Trump, thank you so much.
Do you want to apologize to Lara Trump now?
I already have, Megyn. Come on.
I've already apologized to her. I called her months ago.
And what did she say?
I've rectified this.
I mean, I don't want to disclose the contents of a private conversation, but I thought the conversation went well. And she said,
"Why? You wrote a book. You put private conversations in the book."
After we did the research for this book,
I would.
And I realized how bad his acuity issues were. I called Lara Trump and I said, you were right.
She was totally right. That's the thing, because when I watched that clip, and I'm
he always
giving
knew
voice to what a lot of
she
people
was right.
watching the show are feeling, Jake, I feel angry because she was right. And not only did you not allow her to make her comments, but you seemed to try to humiliate
cut
her.
off.
You had a hostility toward the position, but she was totally right. And then you lectured her on how she was in no position to diagnose cognitive decline, which you guys do at length, including on page 4 of your book. You describe at length his cognitive decline, which is all she tried to do with you. But you had such a visceral reaction to her. And my feeling is that's because you didn't want to hear it.
No, I'm happy to talk about this. I didn't come here thinking that you weren't going to ask me about this. I'm happy to talk to you about it. Her comments have aged well. My comments have aged poorly. I own that.
Yeah, I own it, America. Okay, read my book, buy it.
But I'm telling you, like over here in my ecosphere, we were covering all of these. It wasn't just falling down. It was getting lost. It was some of the stuff you report in your book. We knew and we were reporting on, like the multi-jump cuts in the videos of him, where it was obvious he couldn't get through.
Or when he said, "Abba booga back jiu beaches." Remember that?
1-minute take. So they had to use those. It was clear to us that he was using teleprompter, but there was no effort, none, to get to the bottom of this. And now for you guys to write this book like there was a cover up, it's like there was a cover up and there was an attempted cover up. It could only ever work if you allowed it, if the press allowed it. Some of us tried not to, and some of us were complicit.
First of all, the Biden White House did not like me. Okay, I do not have great connections with the Biden White House.
Well, clearly you have a lot of sources. You say you talked to over 200 sources for this book.
This
so
was
you
after
have
the
some
election.
you could have called and worked.
No, that's the point, is that they were not being honest. That's
how
the
did
point.
the Wall Street Journal get it in June of 2024? And Jake Tapper and CNN couldn't find sources for this story then before he dropped out?
Annie Linsky and Siobhan Hughes did an amazing job in their reporting. And they should be heralded, and I heralded them. I had them on my show right after the debate to talk about their great reporting.
Oh, this guy.
But Annie
after
Linsky,
the debate. But you did not put them on when they published that story, which was before the debate.
Yeah.
Correct. I don't know what the booking situation was, but it wasn't because I didn't want them. I'm sure I said that day, let's book. I'm sure I said that day, let's book that. Did they?
Yeah, you put on a Democrat, and you allowed the Democrat to rip on the report as a Rupert Murdoch sponsored hit piece.
No.
It's just
Megyn.
That's
Megyn,
what happened.
If we're going to do this, let's just stick to the facts here, okay? When there is a damaging report,
that's what I've been doing all along.
I'm talking about what you just said.
Didn't miss the biggest story of the century when it comes to presidential politics, and one of us did.
Okay, so
But now I'm making money off a book.
There is a difference, between the clips of Joe Biden falling on a stage at the Air Force Academy graduation. There is a difference between the clip of Joe Biden embarrassingly forgetting that a Republican member of Congress who he's talking about has died.
You are not the right messenger to bring the story about the cover-up because you helped. You allowed it, and you likely did that out of a desire to help Joe Biden and hurt Donald Trump. You didn't want to do anything that might improve Trump's chances.
Yeah.
I do not think that that is accurate.
I don't. He doesn't think
that
it's
is true.
Hey, if I'm interviewing a bad guy, and I said you did that to that girl, I don't think, Clint, that's totally accurate. So guilty.
Like I said before, if I had known then what I know now, would I have been more aggressive? Yes, of course.
How did I know? And
Yeah.
you didn't know. I'm just curious because when I saw that Wall Street Journal report in June of 24, we had all been discussing his serious cognitive problems for years by that point.
Let me
Jake,
back up a
in
bit.
June of 2022, this show did a full 2-hour program on his cognitive decline.
I heard it.
It was. I know we want to pretend. I'm mentioning the Wall Street Journal out of.
He heard it, but he's pretending not to have known that Joe Biden was retarded. This is media everywhere, guys. All around the world. It's bad in Canada. It's bad in America. These guys shape the world and have been shaping the world for years.
As a courtesy. But those of us on this side of the aisle had been reporting in depth on his multiple problems and the obvious lies we were being told for years. For years. You really want the audience to believe you were fooled?
What do you mean I was fooled? I'm not saying I was fooled. I'm saying we all saw these moments before the camera, and they were obviously concerning, and he was obviously aging, and that was significant. But
so
the
what
people
did you
at
do
the
to
White
get
House,
to the bottom of it?
I'm trying to answer the question. But so the people at the White House, when I would call, when others would call, when Alex would call would lie. He's fine. He's fine. You'd call Democrats and say, what are you seeing behind the scenes here? Because this is concerning. He's fine. He's fine.
They said he's fine, so he must be fine. Like, it's just this guy might be retarded.
But your commentary on your show, yes, I'm going to bring you in, but your commentary on your show, Jake, consistently ran in one direction. Occasionally, you would ask some tough questions.
True.
I mean, here you are in September 2023 saying that Biden was sharp mentally. September of 2023. You said he's sharp mentally. I think the question is physically, right? He's sharp mentally. And then you pointed out that his opponent, Donald Trump, was only a couple of years younger than he was. There are many examples where you're doing that kind of coverage.
Okay, so let's be honest and full about what you're talking about.
There's no problem with honesty on this show.
Okay.
Yeah, let's watch it. Let's watch it. Yeah, Frank Fork came on with a biography about Joe Biden.
Frank Fork came on to talk about his biography with Joe Biden.
She's so good.
And I'm trying to summarize what his conclusions were. So he is saying that Biden
and where is the part where you say he's not sharp mentally, Frank? We've seen the following 10 examples in the past year.
Yeah.
Never mind 3 years.
This is so good.
Where I wasn't... I've already said, I wish I had covered this more aggressively.
Let's talk about the debate that he hosted.
2024. There was a ton of news leading into that debate in that month. And we look back at your coverage and found that you ignored it. Not only did you ignore the Jackie Walorski moment when you had him 13 days later, but you ignored the freeze up that he had at the Juneteenth celebration. You ignored what happened at the G7 when he wandered off and Giorgia Meloni, Prime Minister of Italy, had to go find him. You ignored the freeze up at the George Clooney LA fundraiser. You didn't cover it. You only covered it after the debate, after George Clooney wrote his op-ed. Jake, nobody made you do that. There was your network at every turn was telling us those were, quote, cheap fakes. And you were not combating that narrative. CNN was actively misleading us on what our very eyes were showing us.
Let him talk now.
That's the truth. That's the record.
I will acknowledge that after I was named co-moderator of the debate, I tried to make sure that my coverage was fairly vanilla, both about Trump and about Biden, because I just wanted to get to the debate. And, the Biden people and the Trump people, I'm kind of, frankly, surprised that either one of them agreed to have me as a moderator,
altogether.
Because both sides disliked me so much. But yeah, I remember that moment. And I remember that moment, the glitch at the immigration event, and not getting much attention outside of conservative media at all. And Alex and I are here to say that conservative media was right.
Yeah, but why didn't you
and
report
conservative
it?
media was correct. And that there should be a lot of soul searching, not just among me, but among the legacy media to begin with, all of us,
That's how you sell a
for
book,
how this
people.
was covered or not covered sufficiently. 100%.
What? 100% what?
So
we just want you to admit that you helped Joe Biden and you did everything in your power to make sure that Trump wouldn't become president.
Let me ask Alex something.
This is a great part. You got to listen to this.
So you may be aware, the hard time I've given you on this show is not because of your coverage of the Biden mental decline. I've given you a hard time over the past couple of weeks because you were honored by the White House Correspondents' Dinner for covering this story, which honestly is like getting the award for being the thinnest kid at fat camp. I mean, there was literally no competition at the White House Correspondents Association dinner that they would even consider. You know, they're not going to give awards to anybody in the right-wing ecosphere who covered this from the beginning, with all due respect to you, Alex. But when you got up there, you actually got up there and said, we, myself included, missed a lot of this story. And we bear some responsibility for faith in the media being at such lows. But we, the media, did not miss this story, Alex. Who are you talking about?
He meant the we in the room. He was talking about the people in the room.
It's not your turn to talk anymore. It's Alex's turn.
Thank
Who is
you.
we?
Thank you. I can defend myself.
I can do it.
No, we were the people in the room. I mean, like, I was getting, it was a White House Correspondents' Dinner. I was talking to the people in the room that covered Joe Biden.
All right, so here's my follow-up.
day
Got it. Here's the follow-up. We, if that's who we is, did not miss the story. We in that room intentionally chose not to cover the story or dig into the story, which is a massive story that we have missed in original sin.
Okay, I'm glad you asked me this question because I heard you rip me to shreds the night out. I heard it. The Monday after the dinner, and at first I was.
What I meant to say was congratulations and.
Yeah. At first I was defensive, but then I was, I thought about it also. Then I got off. From your perspective, especially like the miss part, and like your readers that were saying, hey, there's a problem here, or not your readers, but your listeners, saying there's a problem here, and I'm not seeing it reflected in the media. And after the debate happens, everyone to be like, oh my God, there's a problem. Oh my God. I'd be pissed too, because you would feel like you weren't listened to. And that, and I'm sure that a lot of people felt that it was because some reporters let their own personal politics get in the way. And let's be honest, like a lot of newsrooms in DC and New York are more liberal than not.
So good. So good. Megyn Kelly is the #1 podcaster in politics. Hands down. I've always thought that. And, well, it's just a fact. Thanks for watching. Subscribe. Bye-bye.